Mr. Enyart, in California, we have those same issues. We have the let me swap places with you. I want to put up one of the maps here of California. Mr. Enyart, you were talking about the central part of America. You certainly can see it here as you were discussing the Mississippi River system and your area up here in the Illinois area. But in California, we think we're a real big state, and we got a lot of people, and this legislation is extremely important for California. I'm going to just point out some of the San Francisco Bay, one of the great maritime bays in the world. We would argue there's none more beautiful nor more important than the San Francisco Bay. In and out of this bay flow a vast amount of commerce to the port of Oakland and also up into the rivers, into the central part of California, through the Delta on the Sacramento and the San Joaquin River, where trade now goes, international trade, to the port of Sacramento and the port of Stockton. Very, very important because, like Illinois and the great Midwest, we have a vast agricultural economy here in the Central Valley of California, and a lot of that, particularly rice from my district, goes out of the port of Stockton and Sacramento. Both of those ports now have channels that are of insufficient depth to bring in the large ships, and so it becomes much more expensive. The issue you raised, Mr. Enyart, about the cost of shipping. If you have small ships that can't carry a full cargo because of the depth of the channel, it gets more expensive. So in this area, channel maintenance at Port of Oakland, channel maintenance for the ports of Sacramento and the like, and of course up along the Contra Costa County area where the refineries and the oil tankers come and go. As you move further south, we've got the ports mostly fishing down here along the coast, and of course Monterey, which is famous, Pebble Beach and the Monterey Bay area. And then you get down to Los Angeles, and the two great harbors of America, side by side, together form the largest harbor system in this nation, and you can argue whether it's the largest in the world, but it is surely big. The Port of Los Angeles, represented by Congresswoman Hahn, and the Port of Long Beach, side by side there in the Los Angeles area, Long Beach represented by Mr. Lowenthal. Those ports are really one of the major engines of international trade and economic growth. And of course, from those ports, those great cargoes move in and out all across America on the railways and highways. And so we have that, and then of course you can get down here to San Diego, some other harbors along the way in Orange County, and then the great harbor of San Diego, which is extremely important for the military. Anytime you happen to get to San Diego, you'll see the aircraft carriers there from the U.S. Navy and other critical equipment and ships of the U.S. Navy. But all of that's important. But here in my district, I'm going to put up another map. And this is where I really get involved. This is a map of, obviously, San Francisco Bay here with the harbor of San Francisco, the port of San Francisco, the port of Oakland, Alameda in here, and up along the Contra Costa coast. But as you get into the Delta, this is the largest inland delta, or the largest delta on the west coast of the Western Hemisphere, and one of the great inland deltas of the world. There's more than 1,000 miles of waterways here in this delta area. I represent about half of that area, the Sacramento River going up here and the San Joaquin River coming here and then down into the great San Joaquin Valley. These areas are all protected by levees, and so the rivers are confined within those levees, and many of those levees, as I said a while ago, are more than 100 years old, and they need protection. The water system of California, water flowing from the north across these through these waterways that are channeled by the levees to the great pumps down here, delivering water to the Southern California and the San Joaquin Valley, depend upon these levees. This is part of the WRRDA bill. And so these levees and the Protecting the water system of California and the great agricultural enterprises of the Delta are critically important, and the Water Resource Reform and Development Act provide money for the maintenance and the continuing studies of these levees, as well as for many of the critical environmental habitats in the area. As you move up the Sacramento River, you'll come to the great metropolis of Sacramento, which I talked about, and hear the American River coming in with the Sacramento River. And right in this area is arguably the highest flood danger area in America. And there's a project right here in the Natomas area that's absolutely crucial to life and limb. And then as you move on up in the rest of my district, going up 200 miles from here to here, you have Yuba City and Marysville, again, communities that have flooded in the past with the loss of life, and those too are dependent upon the success of the WRRDA bill. Now, what we're going to do tomorrow and in the days ahead as we move through this conference committee, and my task, to get the policy set. But the other side of it is the money. Where's the money coming from? Well, the austerity budgets that have been such the prize of our Republican colleagues really have stripped money away from the projects that we have been talking about, stripped money away from the maintenance of the ports, the dredging of the channels, and the protection and enhancement of the levees. And that money has been stripped away. And so with the first sequestration that took place about 8 months ago, $250 million of money that the Corps of Engineers would have for the ports, for the channels, and for the levees disappeared. That was sequestration 1. On January 15th, sequestration 2 hits with another $90 billion hit, and we're not sure exactly how much the Corps of Engineers will lose, but they're going to lose a vast amount of money. And so all of the talk, all of the energy that we're putting into writing the appropriate policies to reform, to improve, to put programs in place for the American economy aren't going to happen. Well, many of them are not going to happen because of the austerity budgets and the 2 sequestrations. This is a critical problem, And I would reach out to my colleagues, both Democrat and Republican, and say, but there is money. There is money available, but we're not spending it in the right place. In the in the budget bill that passed the House of Representatives a few months ago, there was an increase in the authorization well above what the President wanted to build and rebuild nuclear bombs. Over $12 billion over the next decade for just one life extension program on a nuclear weapon, the B-61, $12 billion. Now, it can be argued, and I would argue this, that that was an extraordinary, inappropriate place to spend money. We don't need that bomb for deterrence. I don't believe. Well, the military may argue that we do, but then they can never get enough of these things. But my argument is we need to spend the money where real danger exists. And that real danger exists on America's rivers. When these levees are not up to standard, when the levees protecting New Orleans are not up to standard, people died, billions upon billions were lost. When the levees in Sacramento are not up to standard, billions will be lost and people will die. And that's an immediate threat. We got plenty of other nuclear weapons for deterrence. But to spend $12 billion in a way that I believe would be better spent on things that protect real people in real life situations. So we're making judgments here. First of all, we're making a judgment. Well, I wouldn't say either you or I, Mr. Enyart, are making this judgment, but our colleagues, potentially on the Republican side, are making a judgment that they believe you can build the American economy with austerity. That is, to cut the federal expenditures. I disagree. There are critical investments that the federal government should and must make.